Hello and welcome to episode 242 of our SAP on Azure video podcast. Today is May 13th, and together with Goran, we are here to talk about anything related to SAP and Microsoft. Hello, everyone. So I have to admit that I have not yet worked with one of the products that we are talking about today, SAP LeanIX. LeanIX is an enterprise architecture tool that bridges or brings visibility in your landscape. In most companies, this tool is used by the enterprise architects. What happens now if you combine LeanIX with Microsoft Defender for cloud apps, which helps you to secure and govern SaaS solutions? That's exactly what Martin Pankraz and Michelle Niedernhuber from SAP thought about and brought these two products together. So in today's episode, to quote from their blog post, we will look at the magic that happens when you combine them. So welcome Martin, welcome Michelle. Before we learn a little more, and I learn a little more about LeanIX, maybe you can quickly introduce yourself. What do you do at SAP?
Thank you very much. My name is Michelle Niedernhuber. I'm product manager at SAP LeanIX and responsible to actually help customers enrich their application landscape by all the SaaS applications that are accessed within their company and help them to gain a holistic overview on what applications are actually supporting the business to run. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Great to have you here. Martin, again, what about you?
Small intro then, yeah. Also a product manager, similar like Michelle, but my focus is of course Azure Core, yeah. And in there, really focusing on co-engineering stuff that we do with SAP together. Yeah, and that's always like the best outcome, yeah, when both parties come together and do stuff together. And helping all the Microsoft product groups interface with the SAP workload, including Entra, Defender for Cloud, and Sentinel, for instance. Yeah, so it was the perfect match, yeah, and to really get introduced to Michelle and the team at LeanIX, yeah, so it was a really smooth ride, yeah. Very interesting part.
Fantastic, cool. And so now before we look at what happens when you combine these two products, Michelle, as said, I have to admit I have not yet worked with LeanIX, so maybe you can kick us off and talk a little more about what actually is LeanIX and maybe show us some things about LeanIX.
Yes, happy to. Thank you. So SAP LeanIX, we claim ourselves to help our customers to navigate technology transformation. What do we mean by that? Well, every day, everyone acknowledges we're living in changing times, and the businesses really need to buckle up to actually transform the business, to become product-driven, or the newest hype to embrace generative AI. And all this adds up to a lot of complexity in IT. And this impacts heavily the cost, the risk, and the agility. But we always ask ourselves, how can CIOs especially now get their business ready and all the IT foundations to help and foster that change that they need to embrace? And how can they do that if they have no transparency? Mm-hmm. Well, it takes them a lot of time, slows everything down. Not having transparency is never good. That's where LeanIX comes into play. We are a leading enterprise architecture solution, and you already said it, our main user is an enterprise architecture, but we actually really are driven to help a whole corporation understand what applications, IT components, what solutions do we actually have in place to make our business run on a daily basis? How is it all interconnected? And how can we actually help customers to not only understand there is, but also facilitate like, hey, in 5 years, we want to be fully cloud native, or we want to embrace a hybrid environment. What bits and pieces of our current setup do we need to change, and how? And how can we also on a day-to-day basis ensure that everyone, never mind if it's someone from the IT departments, the engineering departments, or even from the business, can actually look something up. So we ourselves just experienced that. We have been acquired and are now proud part of SAP. Mm-hmm. And the question sometimes really is, well, for collaboration tools, what are we expecting? Mm-hmm. What can we expect, right? So LeanIX would be the go-to tool. And to actually also put some meat to the bone, like quickly give you an overview on how that now surfaces in LeanIX.
So to start with, it's really about transparency to highlight what is available in my company, because especially obviously in the SaaS world, maybe like 20 years or whatever, there was one main tool that you had in the environment, so it was fairly simple, I guess, to see what was going on. But especially now with the SaaS world, you maybe sometimes don't even know who is using what and what components are in your company. And LeanIX provides you with this transparency to gives you an overview, first of all, what is there, which then you can leverage to also plan the next steps and see, look, if like what you said, if you want to go to the cloud, then maybe these are the components that we should decommission, and here are some other things that we could make more popular and stuff like that. So it's first getting knowing what you have and then planning the next steps.
Exactly. And this is basically the current LeanIX setup, what our customers would find. So it's basically an inventory, we call it like this. So everything that enters LeanIX is basically organized in our inventory. Here you get a glimpse of our data model, how we organize data. So we really look at the type of data that enters our workspace. Is it an application, an interface, or a data object that a certain application provides? And basically our core concept is fact sheets, so to say. This will be an application. And here we summarize really all the data. What is it? Describing what it does, where it's a current life cycle within your organization. Do you have it already planned out? Yeah, please.
That's actually pretty cool. So you also track across the whole stack when end of life of a certain solution is. So you're not surprised if Windows 10 runs out of maintenance potentially.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, we also offer this automated. So, I mean, you have to acknowledge that just because something runs end of life by a vendor doesn't necessarily mean your company is already, having a successor in place. So you actually are able to pull the vendor life cycles automatically within our solution, or you have additionally the possibility to add your own life cycles. So, getting a clearer picture on where you stand and depicting the reality of your IT stack. I think what's also pretty cool is our Relations Explorer here. Just quickly, what do we mean by that? So it's really showing how is it all connected. So we have a successor in place. That's really good. It's tied to an initiative that has been planned out. We refer heavily also to business capabilities on a high level, really organizing where does an application belong to. It helps you understand, like, okay, from a business capability solution view to say, okay, what applications are actually required or currently in use to make a certain business capability, like recruiting, for example, work, or even and then better organize those applications. Can also tie it to, okay, this is certainly used by only in the US and it has held certain data objects. I think that's just as a glimpse on here. I think the true value always remains in, okay, what do we make of all the individual data points, right? And that's then something like a report where we can easily depict, here you would see, hey, this is all the business capabilities we have in our company, and they are currently running on these or using these applications. And oh, by the way, some of them are already out of life. So we need to really do something. You could also take a look at, okay, what's my state in, I don't know, 2 years from now? And then you already see, okay, there's like another application phasing out, but I don't have anything in place yet. So maybe I would need to start to find successors. And we also heavily believe enterprise architects are the facilitators for this change, but they need to collaborate on a day-to-day basis with the business and get into context and conversations with them. And this is where we would bring it all together. We are very open as a tool. We're consumption-based and not user license-based. So basically, whenever you implement LeanIX within your corporation, everyone can get access, and you can really share those views and work with the data you have at hand, draw diagrams, and really get to a point where okay, whatever discipline, business capability we want to change, it's easy to get everyone on the same page.
Well, this view really looks like board ready. Yeah, you can just open this one and like look at the colors and or immediately have a feeling what needs to be done about it. So it's really cool.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
But I also like, I mean, this is not just a snapshot basically of this is how our current landscape looks like, but I really loved what you said, that you can basically scroll in the future and see, look, oh, here's potentially an issue then, because these components will run out of support, end of life, and you need to start investigating. do I need to replace it? Maybe I need to. I don't need it anymore because I changed my strategy. I'm going into the cloud or whatever. So I think there's a really cool integration. Nice. Looks cool.
Yeah, and I think that also is a nice segue into what we now did together with Microsoft, right? So in the past, or how does data generally enter LeanIX? You can do that by uploading this via Excel files. That's easy. We also have a pretty cool AI feature. It's the inventory builder. It's basically you drop an image, be it a chart or a collection of Post-its, we parse it and bring it in and say, this is what we read from the picture you put in, and draw data from it. But we also have those integrations in place, right? So we integrate out of the box with Entra ID and Microsoft Cloud for Defender apps and Microsoft Defender for Cloud apps. So this is it. And that really is then to say, okay, what else is out there? What is being used that maybe no one has yet on their radar, but it should be part of the core stack of the applications your enterprise runs on.
So the idea is to when you basically build up your inventory, that you're not saying this needs to be done manually, but as you said, this is actually a nice AI feature, I guess. So you can, if you have an architecture diagram, or if you scribble something down in a whiteboarding session, but now you're also saying you can connect to Microsoft Defender for Cloud apps, which obviously also has an overview of the more security-related landscape or components in your landscape, and you can import this information now also into SAP LeanIX.
Exactly. And it's just how you described it. And the easy thing about it is it relieves maintenance, right? So whenever, for example, your IT department decides something is no longer part of your SSO systems or should be removed, we can actually bring that information also into the inventory and say, hey, we found an application, it is tied to something that actually sits in Entra ID. And then we really ensure that not only the IT department, but also the enterprise architect, right, who starts to build like change plans and transformation plans on actual data and not something that's outdated or looking at applications that have long been forgone. So that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, so Entra ID gives you insights on SSO applications, right? And registered internal apps. Yeah? So that's like completing from the internal perspective, so to say, on what you should know about the apps that exist there, right?
Exactly.
So is this a one-time import basically, or is this an ongoing import? Like when I connected once, for example, with Defender for Cloud apps, but then something new happens. Microsoft Defender for Cloud apps has a new app. Would this automatically then show up in LeanIX, or is this a manual thing that I need to trigger, where I need to deduplicate and stuff like that?
Yeah, so what you do generally, the flow is our administrators, they can actually add an integration. I already did that for the sake of simplicity. It's both are integrated via an OAuth flow, so secured well. And when we pull the data, we not only pull application data, but we also pull the usage data. And how that surfaces is actually a dedicated inbox. We call it our discovery inbox. And here you basically get a very good overview on, please don't mind the demo data, but of all the applications that have been, that are managed in your Entra ID. And also, for example, what has been found additionally and or even duplicative, of course, in MDCA. And with this overview, we even tied some features around it. So we would bring some details in, right? It's not limited to, hey, we only found that application, but we really said, okay, what additional information is relevant for an enterprise architect to make an assessment, whether this is an application that is business to business, that is subscription based, that should be monitored for an enterprise architect. So we are explicitly leaving out those business to consumer apps that are for free, because an enterprise architect hardly ever relies on them, or the business itself. And I think we really emphasized and built it just recently to also bring the usage data in, to say, okay, you can easily have thousands of entries here. So my demo environment only has now 80, but customer environments are more around hundreds of thousands. So how do you actually sift through that? And here we support various mechanisms. We check, for example, is something in your inventory already? So in these instances, none of them would be present. And then we suggest you like, okay, because nothing is present, we would suggest you create this application which is yet missing. And then an enterprise architect could go its way and say, okay, I want to understand more. How is it used? Is there a preferred SSO mode set? Is it enabled for use, et cetera, et cetera? And based on this information, they can actually go ahead and say, yeah, actually, I deem this as a very good, well, let's rather take that example of Box. I deem this as a good example I want to have in my inventory. And you just go ahead and link it.
Oh, nice.
And with that action, we would actually start creating and linking a fact sheet in our inventory. And this surfaces then like here. See if it was already that fast. Oh, sorry, that was the wrong example. Okay, so here it is. We bring on the information of, okay, it is the Box application, it has a certain description, it sits in a certain product category, no life cycle was set yet. I mean, we simply can't know, right? That's customer individual. So you need to work on it a bit more, but you now also have the knowledge, okay, we linked it, we found it in the SaaS Discovery inbox. It is linked to our reference catalog, so that's a bit of more details in how the mechanism works behind it. But the interesting part here with this link that we establish is if we, for example, no longer find this then in the source system, be it we found it now in MDCA, it was never accessed anymore, we can then bring this information also into the inbox and will actually do that. And help enterprise architects to then really share the same view as someone from IT who works on a day-to-day basis with MDCA.
Yeah,
So
maybe
what would happen?
Go ahead, Holger.
What would happen if I had already, like in this case, Box manually added, for example? Would it now show me somehow or guide me that there's now one that is officially coming via MDCA, or and the other one was created manually, or like can I bring them together somehow?
Yeah, no, usually we bring them directly together. So that's what's happened. So either nothing exists in your inventory yet, and then we bring in new information, or it exists already, and then we ask you, hey, do you want to combine it to enrich it? So sometimes, especially, I mean, Box is a very easy example because, I mean, almost anyone knows what it does, but sometimes an enterprise architect finds themselves sitting in front of these applications name and they have literally no clue what they're about, right? So bringing in the description and the product category is then another segue for them to venture out into their organization and find the subject matter experts that actually also own an application and reach out to them and first of all, assess, hey, is this something we actually do really want to have in our inventory, and should I track that? Yes, no. And if the decision is yes, you could already also go ahead and say, okay, but moving forward, I actually want Michelle, or let someone else be the one who is actually the responsible for that application. Okay. And here now that's then a really long-lasting concept, because whenever we decide, hey, life cycle, or we don't want to have a predecessor in place, we have a person and a name we can address this to. And I mean, looking at it always on a one fact sheet basis sounds like a lot of effort, but especially if you have, let's say, 100 applications where you need to ask questions about, hey, this is going to be end of life, what's our solution? LeanIX also provides collaboration features like, for example, you can assign to-dos. So this is one mechanism we have, or you can assign a survey dedicatedly. In this workspace, haven't set it up yet, but in the end, what it would do is to say, ask all these 10 people with their applications, is this still something we want to maintain? Is there a successor in place? So it kind of also has a bit of this crowdsourcing aspect to it, and bringing the knowledge then again automatically onto the respective fact sheets, and really helping you keep an up-to-date view on your application estate.
Really cool, yeah. Shall we then maybe move over to the Defender portal so that we can tie the link back? Yeah? You have it open there already, Michelle, or you want me to share? Yeah?
Yeah, I have it. I just perfect. Yeah, I learned. I thought I was linked, signed out once I started the screen sharing. But exactly. So this is basically when you would fancy like, okay, what information from Microsoft Defender would we actually now? Where did we get the data we saw in SAP LeanIX? It's pretty much the applications overview. So Microsoft Defender has the discovery functionality as well. And again, this is demo data, but we basically took an export of this overview.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But here the persona view is slightly different, right? Because in there you saw already there's sanctioned apps and unsanctioned ones. Yeah? And this is also what our shared blog post talks about. Yeah? Where's the sweet spot between both product suites? Yeah? On the Microsoft side, you have the security focused view, yeah, where you want to block access to certain apps. You want to know what's the usage of them. And the usage part is what's also interesting to you, right? To know, is this app like a fancy one, or is it really like making waves within the company? You know? And in here, we can see the value of the data serves the security focused people, but also the ones that want to understand like the transformational aspect of it. Do I need this? Do I need more of it? Less? Different ones? And this is really like a really great fit that works for both. And LeanIX can simply use the APIs and derive value from it.
Yeah, and I think you're pointing out the main value very good. So I mean, it's different personas, right? Usually an enterprise architect doesn't have access to a Microsoft Defender for app, or at least admin rights, right? And also same for Entra ID. And that's where then, I mean, talking about 100 or 1,000 applications and remaining on the same page, you cannot achieve that manually. You need an automation in place. Our integration does that. It ensures that whenever you access LeanIX, you basically look at the same estate that you have in Entra ID. And, it's no one has to fear that, now they make beautiful blends, but some applications are already kind of no longer intended to use or existing, etc. No, we can ensure that everyone's looking at the same stuff, and then also drive conversations in a more meaningful way, right? So you don't have to discuss about, are we now really on the same page? No, that's a given. You just can discuss on, okay, what's happening now on each and every level that we need to improve.
Exactly, yeah. And Skype was like deprecated recently, right? So maybe then people can make their plans to move from Skype to Microsoft Teams, through LeanIX, and then finally sanction usage of like a product that is going out of maintenance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a nice example. So I guess in LeanIX we would see that Skype potentially has an end of life. We would plan that Skype is replaced by Teams or whatever, and then so on the LeanIX roadmap we would already see this progression, and here in Microsoft Defender we would then at some point in time block Skype. Yeah,
and set the respective tag to it. That's actually the core of it.
Cool, yeah. I'm just thinking, but Martin, we don't have the integration the other way around, right? So right now, if someone would add components in LeanIX, they would not automatically show up here in Defender.
No, but Defender has its own means to discover shadow IT, right? Because you want this to work no matter what products you have, right? But when you upload, I haven't checked. That would be something to verify with the colleagues if that's if that's of use.
Yeah, but I guess Michelle, with LeanIX, I can also already plan even if the products are not yet in place, right? And I guess that's why maybe this is also not so interesting then for Defender for Cloud, because these are potentially also products that are not yet even in the environment. They will only come at a later point.
That's, for example, not an issue. So we can easily just create fact sheets and then decide, hey, our phase in or so is in 2 years from now, something like that. So that's the whole solution is completely open to, I already referred to it. You can create those fact sheets on your own and say, hey, they are not backed by an integration. This is what we would do then in that case. But ideally, if they are reality and you have them in use, you connect them to an integration and then ensure data maintenance is always up to date.
Yeah, okay.
And the SSO settings you're taking from Entra ID, right? To know which apps have like SAML enabled or not in the SAP world.
Exactly. So actually, we also have our best practice, or we are centering our user journey moving forward around really enabling customers to first focus on whatever they receive from SSO integrations and work through that. Because, I mean, as you said it already, right? If I have already this information, an application is enabled in Entra ID, I have the credentials, I'm allowed to sign in. That's actually already a very good sign to say this application has meaning. If it's not enabled and no one can access it, you likely shouldn't also bother to have it in your inventory. That's something we want to highlight and emphasize on. And once, for example, you work through all of them that you found via an SSO integration, we think only then it really makes sense to broaden up the funnel and sift through everything that comes from MDCA. Because, I mean, we will definitely find a lot of duplicates, right? So I would expect everything that sits in an Entra ID will also be detected at one point from MDCA. But then it's actually nice to say, yeah, but I already have all that. So I don't, you can establish the links, but you can also say, well, honestly, before I enter that effort, I'm going to concentrate on show me everything that is not yet in my inventory, that I'm not yet tracking, in order to fulfill this overarching goal to have a very comprehensive as is state of the application landscape.
That's also a good point, yeah, because the SSO part to you is about how important is this app, yeah? And on our end, it's more like, did you think about MFA and did you secure this app, yeah? And like the different perspectives on what SSO means to the different personas. So.
Yeah.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah, cool. That's an interesting integration, and I really like this that you're able to connect to multiple backends or multiple providers. I would even say here that give you these products there, and then you have a nice complete overview in what was it called, the inventory view.
Exactly. Yeah.
One other question there. So and maybe we stick to the example of Box, and maybe there are a lot of other products where I have, or maybe where our company has no idea, but maybe you, LeanIX, have seen these products in others. Do you also provide your own catalog basically, so that if, as you said, maybe I, as the enterprise architect, I have no idea what this Box solution is, but because of your huge reach with other customers as well, Box is this and this category and this tool. Do you have these capabilities as well that you're able to suggest or guide companies what different products are?
Yes, so that's actually also the mechanism I hinted earlier on how does enter data from Entra ID, enter LeanIX. One notion on this one is basically not customers will find themselves at likely a difference between the exact number of applications they have in Entra ID, for example, and the exact number that shows up in LeanIX. And the gap is explained by our, we call it reference catalog. It's basically our application catalog. It's researched, it's up to date, it's growing on a daily basis. But what we literally do is we discover your application, map it to our reference catalog, and only if we know it and basically researched it. So we, for the research, we actually we group it into a product category. We provide the description if available. I mean, for SaaS applications, it's always not so relevant, the whole lifecycle topic, right? But we embarked on this for IT components years ago, right? So whenever there's like software, hardware components that have an end of life, we research that. So we have a very comprehensive library here, and bring that information then as well. And that's where we would then also come up with the suggestion, like, I don't know if the Calendly is also pretty known, but if, for example, say, hey, we detected this, now we would say, you should also call it like this because it's actually in the name, and this is what it does, and et cetera, other information that we can provide. And currently, I mean, some customers always ask us then, okay, why is there a gap, right? I want to be sure that you captured all of it, but we already admit that we don't do it. And yeah, the truth lies actually in also the custom apps that can be created in Entra ID. So we base our research approach very strongly on all those Entra ID, Entra gallery related applications, because only then we have the right match of, is it really Calendly? Is it Box? And so on and so forth. And with the identifiers, it's a bit more standardized. Of course, from time to time, customers, they have in their Entra ID set up applications like Slack, and they didn't use their Entra gallery for it, but they used the custom applications, and then we are missing these unique identifiers. So some things, we need to admit, but then also we see that, I don't know, if you have an Entra estate of 100,000 applications, which our customers do have, a lot of that is some testing, some in sandbox environments, nothing an enterprise architect would actually worry about ever, track in that inventory. That's why our catalog also serves a bit as a filter on, setting the focus right on what should you worry about, right? And that's how the mechanism works.
That's again like this persona proof point again, because the security person needs to worry about this long forgotten app that no one uses, because that's the way you get the breach. But the enterprise architect only needs the ones that actually like impacts their budgeting and planning. Really cool. Like I said, this was like one of the smoothest collaborations with AWS at SAP, because the fit is so like straightforward.
It makes total sense. Absolutely, This really makes a lot of sense to bring these tools together. Absolutely, cool.
Yeah, I only agree.
Michelle, Martin, any last topics? Otherwise, I think this was a great overview. I learned a lot. I now understand what LeanIX is. I've seen it now for the first time in real life. So this is great for me. Thank you so much. And
we encourage everyone to read the blog post for like a double click and leave comments. We are more than happy to dive deeper on this.
Configure the integration. It's in our base product. So for LeanIX, it's pretty straightforward. And as I said, it really helps to create a very comprehensive application inventory and enrich it so it reflects the reality of your day-to-day business.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And maybe in the next iteration, we can have you both back on the show again.
Sounds
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.